Previously, I had bought a cheap server from Hostinger at about $5 per month. I deployed OpenClaw into it and connected it to Claude and Telegram so I can run my AI agents smoothly. But here's what nobody tells you. All your data is not private, even in a VPS. Because once you see this, your whole decision gets very simple. This is currently my setup. I have a Hostinger VPS in which I've installed OpenClaw on it. I connected my Telegram to OpenClaw so I can message it super easy, and I've connected my OpenClaw into Claude for the brains of running the whole AI agent. Because once you run your own AI agent, you will want three things: fast, private, and smart. Because in a cheap rented VPS, you can only have 2 out of 3. In this case, you can have it fast, not private, and smart. The basic setup is you connect OpenClaw to something like Claude, which is the brain of the whole operation. It can read your files, it can understand your contacts, it can understand your images, it reads your email, reads your travel itinerary, drafts different kind of prompt structures, drafts replies, sees your client data, and it works everything inside the VPS. But in this process, your data leaves the VPN every time you make a request to Claude, and sensitive information such as password, client data leaves your system even though you're the only one who has access to it. And the worst part, every time you compute an answer, you will have to pay for the token usage. This makes AI agent super costly and why it costs more than human employees sometimes. Here, let me show you exactly what's happening. Here I have OpenClaw resting on a VPS on Hostinger. Let's open the terminal. This is the terminal. Let's see the network logs. This is the network logs. And the minute I send any message to OpenClaw, Claude Sonnet is the actual one doing all the thinking. So all these data packets are being sent in and out from Anthropic. And here we can see that a lot of traffic is going out to Anthropic. And these are all the contents of your files and chat history going out of your server into theirs. And to be fair, most of these big companies claim that they do not train their AI based on your data. It's not a scandal, but they promise not to look. And we cannot rely on promises when we are dealing with sensitive healthcare data or sensitive legal information while working with big clients. That's why we need to keep everything private. The other side of this equation is relatively simple. All we have to do is deploy OpenClaw on a small VPS that we can stuff at home. This makes it super private. And we can run a model using Ollama. In this case, we can deploy something simple like Google's Gemma 4. You can try other models as well like Llama 3 and bigger models like Kimi K2. The biggest problem here is always the GPU. That's why we need to make sure we get something that can sustain this. Like the Nvidia Jetson or in Nano, it comes pre-built with a GPU that can run small models like this effortlessly. This makes sure that all your data is private, and later I will show you the network logs of a fully encrypted end-to-end communication between Telegram, our hardware, OpenClaw, and our model. Here we can run all of our models locally and make sure that our AI agents are fast, private, and smart. This is the only way to stop renting a VPS and paying monthly subscriptions, is that you own the hardware, you deploy it at home, somewhere safe, private, and secure. And this is exactly what showed up in my doorstep today morning. This just showed up from DHL this morning. It's a Clawbox. And before we get started, I'm going to show you exactly what do we get. Inside the hood is actually an Nvidia Jetson Orvin Nano of 8 GB and 512 memory of SSD. So this is powerful enough for us to run our local AI models, so we do not have to depend on outside sources. I think we need to test it to see how powerful the GPU actually is. So now I'm just going to connect it. Once you connect it to the power cable, the machine just turns on. You can see the fan rotating, and I noticed there's actually no power lights. Based on this simple setup instructions that we got, it seems that we just have to scan the QR code with our mobile phone and connect it to internet. So let's go ahead and try it. On first boot, the device actually creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot. This makes it super simple for you to set up via your phone. So we're just going to press the Clawbox setup, and then we can connect it to our home Wi-Fi. Choose your Wi-Fi, enter your password, hit connect, and now the Clawbox is joining your home Wi-Fi. Just update the drivers, and let it system update. Once it's done installing, it will give a quick restart. And our setup is complete. Let us set up the device name and the hotspot settings. Now we'll be required to enter our password when connecting to our hotspot. The developers already thought about security when structuring this simple device. Now we're given options on which AI to connect with. Here we see OpenAI, Claude, Clawbox or Gemma 4. I'm going to choose Gemma 4 because that one actually installs the model locally so no data is ever sent out. I like how it already has the full Gemma installed pre-built. Now the final step, we need to communicate with our OpenClaw. Here OpenClaw recommends us to connecting directly to Telegram. For that, we need to be using a bot called BotFather. Here when we connect to our Clawbox via our Wi-Fi hotspot, we see a simple menu like this. It looks like a simple Android screen. We see that they have an OpenClaw menu right here. So we're going to select that and just try sending a message to our Gemma model. Okay, and we see that our Gemma model is online and is trying to ask us with our basic information just to set up the identity and the sole MD. Now to test if everything works, we're just going to test the same in Telegram. I already have BotFather here, but if you don't, just go to contacts, search people by username and search for BotFather. Start the bot, type in the command /new bot. We're going to call it Clawbox JBot. You can change the name to however you like. Once you finish, you're going to be able to see a token that looks like this. So copy that to clipboard, go back to our Clawbox setup, paste it and press connect. Now we can return back to our Telegram, go to the BotFather, press the bot we just created and press start bot. Here we see a pairing code. All we need to do is copy this value here, go back to our Clawbox, press settings, go to Telegram, paste in the code here and press approve. Once that's done, you'll be able to chat your Clawbot. And you should get a message that OpenClaw access approved. Now we can start message and give it a reference context check and ask it simple question like, what is my name? Claude is thinking and it has responded with the correct answer. That's perfect and our setup is officially complete. Now we can press the left button to see all the available commands. Here we can give our agents context, give them tasks to do, and even run complex algorithms. If you're automating the basic stuff and you barely use it, then the Claude API is perfect use case for this. Don't overthink it. The privacy and the cost argument only makes sense when your usage is high and privacy is an important factor here. But if you are handling client, patients, contracts, GDPR data, and real sensitive information, then owning the hardware makes perfect sense and puts you apart from competition when you're pitching to big and reputable clients. Not because API companies are bad, but it's better to have your own secure infrastructure running at home, especially when pitching to big clients. The hardware setup is a one-time purchase, but this also saves you a lot of long-term usage costs because there's no meter going on and there's no API cost involved. For heavy usage, it saves you a lot of API costs as well as server scaling costs in the future. For light use, it's honestly more about privacy than money. The only catch here is that we cannot run big models like the Kimi model on a small GPU like the Nvidia Jetson or in Nano. This 8GB box is more suited to run the lighter models so that we can balance the speed as well as the smartness. But one thing we proved today is the hardware setup is actually super easy as long as you find a partner like Clawbox that fully supports its ecosystem from end to end. You can run a model on it, you can communicate to it via Telegram, and you can also view the network logs to make sure there's no packets sent out without your permission. That's what private AI assistants are supposed to be. I put the link to Clawbox in the description below, so make sure you check out the product and try to deploy it yourself. Comment if you have any problems setting it up and I will help you right away. Like if you think this video was useful and subscribe because I create content for solopreneurs just like you to scale their agencies using AI and automation.